What do you want us to learn that we didn't know with this documentary?
Well, just some of my motivations for the stances that I took and what was going on in my head when I did certain things. I wasn't very keen on sharing too much with the press because sometimes I felt that they were out to make me look bad. So I was very cautious. I was too cautious. But that was something that more or less Coach Wooden kind of put that in our heads. He didn't let us talk to the press. Severely limited our access to the press. He felt that they were a nuisance. So I kind of took that attitude with me when I came into the NBA, and that did not serve me very well.
But did it? So it stunted your media growth by going to UCLA?
I don't think it stunted my growth, but it just made me suspicious and cautious with the media, and I maintained that attitude for way too long. I got to work. Those are people that you have to work with when you're a professional athlete, and if you don't do it, it's bad for you. It's bad for your sport.
Bill Walton wasn't afraid to voice his opinions later on in his career at UCLA. How outspoken would you have been at UCLA, looking back, given those times when you were there?
I was kind of outspoken, but I wasn't on any kind of crusade. But for example, when Dr. King was assassinated, there was a demonstration at UCLA. I participated in it. We just lined up on Bruin Walk. And people challenged me. They said, well, you're going to get a chance to play in the NBA and make a lot of money. You shouldn't be out here protesting.
Really?
Yeah. And, there's no way that those two things correlate. But that was the attitude that we had to contend with from the average American.
But I always found that as great as you were as a player, you were even more fascinating as a person. There was so much there. But what part of you says, I do want to share that. I just don't know if I can trust people that I want to share it when you were playing.
I think for me it was if I understood that the correspondent had some personal integrity and I respected his work, I'd open up and talk with them. If I didn't, I'd be more cautious. And sometimes they would make statements or try to bait me, and I wasn't going for that. It would get it would get contentious.
Is there any correlation between height and personality, what you share and don't share, shyness? If you're 6'3" instead of 7'2", are you different?
I think so, because when you're exceptionally tall, or if you stand out in any way, it kind of puts you inside. It pushes you inside because people single you out, and then you feel you have to defend yourself, or you have to avoid being singled out, and it gets complicated.
Did you feel obligated to play basketball?
No, I like playing basketball.
But was baseball a first love?
Baseball definitely was first love, but the fastball wouldn't go over the plate with any regularity.
Wait, you were a pitcher?
Yeah, I could throw it really hard, but I didn't have Randy Johnson as a role model. See, I needed him. That tall guys could pitch.
Did you play in high school?
No, I didn't play. I stopped, and I could have played in high school because the basketball coach was the baseball coach in my high school. And he said, "Do you want to pitch? You can come out." And I said, "No, I'm going home every day." So I just stopped playing baseball at that point. But that's always the game that I loved the most. 1963 was a great year. The Dodgers swept the Yankees. I got to rag everybody for like 2 months after the World Series was over.
Because you're living in New York, and so you had the Yankee fans, and then you being a Brooklyn Dodger fan.
And the Giants fans, very obnoxious people. Still to this day, So, yeah.
What role did Jackie Robinson play in your life?
Jackie Robinson played a big role in my life. He was a role model when I was a kid. My mom pointed him out to me that he was articulate and intelligent, and you should be like him. I ended up going to UCLA.
Where he went?
Yeah. It was. He was a great role model, though. I really appreciate the things that he stood for and the stances that he took. It really made a lot of sense. He helped start a black-owned bank in Harlem. I went up there with my $17 and put it in the bank, He was just, somebody that I admired so much and saw a lot of leadership there.
But how difficult, and you face this, to turn the other cheek when something happens on the court or in life, that Jackie was able to somehow do that.
Jackie was able to do that, but Jack was he was very good at getting his word in. He often would challenge guys to meet him under the stands between innings, and they were like, "No, I'm not going to do that." So Jack fought back, and as time went on, people accepted him. I had a chance to get to know Ernie Banks just right before he died, the last part of his life, and he was telling me that Jackie really helped him by advising him and telling him how to conduct himself and avoid incidents and come off being the class guy that he was.
We're talking to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the HBO special, so you know it's great. Kareem, Minority of One, November 3rd at 10 Eastern and 10 Pacific documentary focusing on the life and career of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Did you ever get bored scoring?
No. I never got bored in any parts of the game because I enjoyed winning. Guys I played with enjoyed winning. They enjoyed the fact that I helped them win a lot of games. It was a mutual support.
But you were so good at the sky hook. I didn't know if it got to the point where, like, Tiger Woods has reinvented himself. Like, he had broke down his swing a couple of times and he wanted to be even greater. Like, did you ever assess your game and say, well, I've got this down. Now what do I want to do differently?
Yeah, I would work on different parts of my game as my career proceeded. I remember one off season I went to Pete Newell and asked him, a few questions about what was happening, and he explained to me why certain guys that played very physical had an advantage. I needed to strengthen up, so I got in the weight room. So the last 4 or 5 years that I played, they couldn't push me around. It really lengthened my career.
If somebody didn't see you in the 60s at UCLA, how would you describe you in a sentence or so?
I had a great time at UCLA, doing everything. Going to class was great. Playing basketball was great. I got to go to football games, and there were co-eds. I'd gone to all-boys school.
So Power Memorial was an all-boys school? It was
all-boys school. So I got out to UCLA, and the co-eds at UCLA are stunning. I wasn't leaving there,
But, okay, I'll fill in for Kareem. He's the most dominating. Do you think Michael Jordan was dominating? Kareem changed the game. Well, Lou Alcindor changed the game. And it felt like those teams were so good, so polished, and to understand the science of basketball. How important was that Coach Wooden was teaching you something more than just play basketball? There was a lot more going on with his teachings.
He was teaching us the secrets of success, and he was teaching us how to be for real in terms of living up to your commitment to the team, the commitment to your teammates, the program, and yourself, your own goals. And he wanted us all to graduate and learn how to be good citizens, good parents, good husbands. That's what he wanted us to learn, and basketball was just a means to that end for him.
I was amazed to go to his apartment and how modest a life Coach Wooden led. And he would do his interviews out in the courtyard, and then if he thought not you were worthy, but if he liked you, he would let you inside. And this was after his wife died, Nell, and I sat in there for 3 hours, and he just was opening his scrapbook and just talking because he understood I was asking him about reserves on UCLA's team.
Right.
Larry Hawley. I mean, I'm throwing out Swin Nader and all these names there. And he knew that Lynn Shackelford and Kenny Heights, he knew that I loved the program. And for 3 hours, he made me a sandwich, and he just talked. And part of me felt sad, but then I don't know why. I don't know why I felt that way towards the latter part of his life.
The sadness that you noticed was the fact that Nell had died, and he was alone. That was his partner, and he really missed her. So when we would come around and distract him and talked to him about various things. He really enjoyed that. Beginning every baseball season, we get together and say, all right, who's going to do well and who isn't. He knew I was a big baseball fan, so we really enjoyed that.
What were the playgrounds like back in the 60s here in New York City?
Playgrounds were like basketball as a blood sport. You mentioned playing that at the Cage on West 4th Street.
Yeah.
It was like that more or less anywhere you played in the city. It's not like that now. It's become very very placid and calm game. All the kids just want to shoot 3-pointers and talk about that. You know.
But what was it like when you showed up to play?
It was get the best guys out because we have a challenge. And the guys that I played with, we played in northern Manhattan and up in Harlem, and we played in Queens and Brooklyn. We go out to the beach and play, come down to lower Manhattan and challenge people. One of the guys in my neighborhood used to make bets on the side, and if we won, he'd put $50 in our pocket. That was a lot of money in 1962, you know.
Best guy you played against on the playground?
Jeez. Earl Monroe.
Really?
Oh, yeah. New York played Philly, and the Baker League played the Rucker. So I played on the New York team. This is between my senior year in high school and my first year at UCLA.
So is Earl with the Bullets then?
Yeah.
Or is he in college at Winston-Salem?
He was in college at Winston-Salem.
Okay.
But he played in the Baker League for the summer. So the Baker League All-Stars played the Rucker All-Stars. So, and I didn't know who he was. And he had his own cheering section. He came out and there were people running around talking about Jesus, Jesus. And I'm like, wait a minute.
He was the first Black Jesus?
That I know of. So he comes out and he has on a white low cut and a black high top. And the game starts, and I didn't start the game. But the game starts and he's doing all this weird stuff with the ball. He hasn't even crossed half court. And then he jumps up in the air and throws a pass with topspin. It goes 3/4 of the court, hits the ground, and catches somebody in stride that catches it and lays it up. I was like, oh. we're gonna have a game today, you know?
Plus, he just had a great handle.
He could handle it, and he could shoot it. You know, just lights out, he could shoot it. Not with the range of Stephen Curry, but he had good range and great ball handling skills.
But did they want a piece of you though? Like, there's always the guy on the playground that's trying to dunk over you.
Right.
You got that?
Yeah, but I didn't let that happen. I was at that point. No, I kind of dealt with that. My first year playing varsity basketball, 9th grade, I got run over a couple of times, and then after that, those days were over.
I saw you play Walton in Walton's first game in Dayton, Ohio, preseason, and I knew Bill was in a little like there was that learning curve when that first happened. But what did you see when you saw Walton? Here's a guy who went to UCLA, and you know, were you seeing something different at that position?
Well, Bill was a consummate team player and understood the team game. He's a good passer, had a good variety to his game. I had a strange symmetry with Bill because I played against him his first game, and I played against him his last game.
Oh, really?
When he played, you know, the Celtics. Lakers in '87, that was his last game. So, you know, we have this symmetry. But Bill's an incredible player, and that game that he played in the NC2A Finals, what was he?
Memphis State, 21-22.
21-20. Who's going to see that again, you know?
When you hear Michael Jordan's the best player of all time, how do you react?
I react by saying those people probably didn't see Oscar Robertson play, and they didn't see Jerry West play. Some of the guys that played when the games weren't televised.
But why isn't your name there?
Because people admire Michael's extraordinary athletic ability, which is so obvious, and for me, they just see someone who's tall. and they don't think I'm working that hard at it. But I couldn't do what Michael did. Michael couldn't do what I did. So that's just something people are going to argue about from now until the end of time.
Yeah, but I think you're shortchanged, though.
I am, but that's
you are.
That's the way it goes. People sometimes how do they say it? The appearance of something, it really takes on a reality of its own that really isn't justified.
You made it look too easy.
Yeah.
And being told that's unfair, you should be doing this.
I always compare myself in that sense to Roberto Clemente. He made it look easy, and he did some incredible things out there that people can only think about. And I think we were cursed the same way.
How often do you hear Airplane quoted when you see people? If we walk down the street, would somebody quote the movie Airplane?
No, but if we go through the airport, we will. Everybody in the airline industry watches that
We need to
film.
dress you up, Kareem, as the captain and walk through an airport. Like a Funny or Die video.
Bob Hayes and I did a piece for the Wisconsin Tourist Board where we fly around Wisconsin and point out interesting things there for people to come visit Wisconsin, and we mimicked Airplane. It's kind of perennial. I can tell you a funny story. I was flying in Europe, I believe it was Lufthansa, and we're taxiing out to get ready to take off. And the pilot comes out and says, "Come here." And I'm like, we were all strapped in. He said, "No, come with me." So I go into the cockpit, and it was one of those wide body planes that had extra seats for the pilots. He said, "Come on, sit here." And they strapped me in. They said, "We're going to tell everybody that we flew with Murdoch." And so we take off, and then they let me go back to my seat. But they were thrilled about it, And stewardesses, they want to talk about it. They make jokes about it. It's more or less something that the airline industry, it's their movie.
He's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the Hall of Famer, the greatest scorer in NBA history, 6-time NBA champ. They somehow leave that out. When they mention Jordan's 6 titles, they forget to mention that Kareem has 6 as well. November 3rd, 10 Eastern, 10 Pacific, HBO airing Kareem, Minority of One, a documentary focusing on the life and career of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.